This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Planet of Twinks.
Hello everyone, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that pretends to be looking at gender norms while actually reinforcing them. I am Gepwin, and I am joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Izix.
Hi.
And this week we have the very unassuming, could be literally frickin' anything with this title, episode called Angel 1.
Clearly this is an episode where the first angel kicks off the first impact and,
Yep, the first angel comes, kills God, then takes over God's position, and then years later somebody comes from an alternate dimension to try to kill God because he has a beef with the church because of some kind of thing where he had an affair with a church higher up, and then they kidnapped his daughter. I haven't read those books in a while, but I think that's what we're getting to.
I was referencing Neo Genesis Evangelion, but yes, that also works.
Yeah, see, I haven't watched Neon Genesis. I know they call them angels. It's one of those weird Japanese things. Yeah.
Yes. Anywho, we got Angel 1 here. It's an episode of Star Trek Next Generation. I could certainly say that.
Yep. This is one of those ones that's trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, but it tries.
Whoops.
That's a lot of these.
Yeah. Especially the first season, where it kind of feels like they took bits and pieces of like original series episodes and threw them into a blender, and then it's like, here, writer person, you haven't done a lot of writing for Star Trek yet, or maybe you have, but try and make an episode out of this.
Yeah, so I guess we've made progress because, we had one version of this in original series, because we're finally, I mean, I guess not finally, it's way too early in the season for them to be trying to do this, but we're at the matriarchy episode. I feel like almost every sci-fi series has to get to a matriarchy episode at some point.
Yeah, it seems so.
So, original series, we had, this planet seems to be run entirely by women, but the women don't actually run anything. The computer is running everything. And also the men are brainless rape monsters.
Yes. And, these elements might not be the thing people remember most about that particular episode, but yeah, that's kind of what was going on there.
Yeah, the women can't actually run stuff and are too stupid to run stuff, as women are. And that's why they needed to kidnap Spock's brain.
Yes. So now you know what Spock's brain is actually about.
Yep.
Sexism.
As was most of that show, but that one more explicitly than some of the other episodes. Then when we got to the animated series, we had women can run their own society, but only by parasitizing men, and also they're all sad about how they can't have babies.
Yes, so they'll get to live forever, but, reproduction's not in the cards. Also, anyone who visits, you're going to die. So, that's a thing, I guess.
Yeah, and really, what is a woman if they can't have babies, right?
Someone who doesn't want to have babies. That's who, maybe, I guess, or someone who can't, but it's just how things are for their life,
Yeah, so we moved from the 60s, women are too dumb to run a society, to the 70s, women can run a society, but what of their natural urges for babies, to the 80s, women can run a society. They don't seem to be too concerned with babies, and they're definitely not too bad to run a society. They're doing it. They're not dumb, but they will be just as bad as the men who run our society. Oh my God! Blown your mind.
So once again, this is a episode where women being in charge is framed as a bad thing.
Yeah, but an equally bad thing, more or less an equal bad thing to men being in charge. It's more of a it'd be enough of a lateral move that we really shouldn't try to make equality because it wouldn't change anything, really. It's fine.
I so hate this argument because it still comes up and people are like, if we make things equal, then we're going to be a second-class citizen. No, that's not what being equal rights is, guys.
But what if we make things too equal? Like, what if we make things so equal that they become unequal? Huh? Didn't think of that one, did you?
That's not how it works. Yeah. So,
all right, so
I'm just kind of really tired of that argument. It just keeps coming up even now.
Yeah, I know. I hate it. I hate it. Ugh. All right, so this is an episode written by one Patrick Barry, who is a writer who existed and did things, I assume, because they definitely wrote this episode and an episode of something called Hunter, and they made an unfinished script for TNG that would have been called The Crystal Skull.
Oh, cool. We're gonna have.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that didn't come out.
Well, that means Indiana Jones is gonna show up, right?
Yeah. See, this is just a personal thing with me. For whatever reason, when I was growing up, my mother was very obsessed with this idea that you should actively hate all alien-leveled conspiracy theories, like, the Crystal Skull. So, the Crystal Skull showing up in Star Trek would have so ruined her.
It's like, come on, guys. Yeah, the author here also was involved in a TV series for War of the Worlds, apparently. Yeah, and something called Kissy from 1986, an episode called The Incredible Hunk Double Dared Bear. I'm kind of a little confused what's going on there. So,
oh my God, that doesn't even make sense. Those aren't words. None of those were words. What did you just say?
I don't know. Oh, they also did an episode of Beast Wars.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Transformers.
What a jank cartoon, but yeah.
Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills.
Now you're just throwing words together.
No, this is apparently a thing that actually exists.
That's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ethos.
A low-budget kid show with 4 alien fighters recruited by Nimbar. The 4 are Gordon, Laurie, Drew, and Swinton, who fight to save the universe from evil Emperor Gorgonus.
So it's trying to be Power Rangers.
Kind of.
Okay. That makes sense. Everything was trying to be Power Rangers for a while.
Yep.
All right. Guest stars. Karen Montgomery is playing Beta. I apologize. I didn't watch this episode. I watched this episode a while ago, so I didn't watch it recently, and I've forgotten all the alien names.
Yeah, she's like the elected one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just call her that.
I should, because all I can read of this is, like, Beta, which I think is, like, Pakistani nickname. Anyway, she did a lot of guest appearances on other TV shows, like one called Going in Style, Will and Phil, which I can only assume is some sort of prequel to Will and Grace. She then later transitioned to TV production and stopped acting.
Producer for a few shows, like Row Your Boat, Sense of Wonder, and yeah, so not a whole lot else, really.
Sam Hennings plays Ramsey. And they started acting in the 80s with appearances on Colby's, Dallas, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. They did a lot of sort of minor TV roles through the 90s and 2000s. So they were around.
Yeah.
It's that kind of episode. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still acting, too. Apparently things coming out in post-production at the moment, like The Neon Highway.
That sounds fun. Patricia McPherson plays Ariel. No, not the mermaid, but...
Why not?
Wasn't that movie from the 90s?
Early 90s, yeah.
So this was the original Ariel.
Yes.
So this is from 88. She had guest spots in TV shows in the 80s, but is best known for playing a character in Knight Rider.
Yes. Bonnie Barstow. In like 60-some episodes.
Yeah, which I haven't seen Knight Rider in way too long, and I don't remember any of it.
And it's like, she looks familiar. Oh, yeah, Knight Rider.
Then Leonard John Crawford plays Trent. He was an actor and dancer who co-starred in the movie The Singing Detective, as well as some other films. He would go on to play a genderless entity in TNG and some random alien no one remembers from Voyager.
Well, the Komar, they're the folks that are like all super crazy about the Doctor's singing voice. And they're like, we're going to make you a celebrity because we have not apparently experienced music ever.
Yeah, the ones who think music is mathematical, and the Doctor gets all excited, and then they're like, no, it's just math.
Yeah.
And then the Doctor is sad.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they just wanted me for my singing voice. They could copy that.
One thing that I want everyone to imagine as we're talking about this episode, like, first imagine it, then go look it up, because I want to see how right anyone was. Imagine the most 80s inspired female empowerment sci-fi outfit you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then put every person in this episode in that.
Yes, except the guys.
Yeah, except the guys. It's all, like, purple. It's all purple, which is interesting when you're trying to get away from feminine tropes not working. And then it doesn't have sleeves. None of them have sleeves, because this is a sleeveless society. But
which I guess is at least a thing, maybe.
But they do have shoulder pads.
Yes. Big
so
shoulder
no
pads.
Sleeves, but shoulder pads.
Yeah, they're the shoulder pads that can compete with the Romulan shoulder pads that come later.
Yes. 80s power hair, so everyone looks like they're in a workout video.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the men, this is something we'll have to get possibly describe a bit more later, because it is literally a plot point. The men wear flowy outfits with, like, the deepest V-neck, the V-neck that goes down to your belly button.
Yes, and situated so you can at least see one nipple at all times.
One nipple. It exclusively shows one nipple, because two nipples would just be too far.
Yes, but one, that's good enough.
Yes. Also, this is one of those matriarchal societies where the women are just taller. Mm-hmm. The men are, like, all little twink boys.
Yes, hence the intro.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, the guys seem to wear, like, some sort of jockstrap sort of thing going on. It's, very accentuated.
Yeah, it's sort of like a faux codpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of dancer attire, strappy leg things.
Yes.
Anyway, just look it up. If you search Angel One in an image search, you'll see these outfits. They come up immediately.
Yes. So I guess this is the episode with the most exposed guy chest, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, in TNG, because Shatner's not here.
Yes. Well, that's really, you can only count him as one chest. Just, it's overpowering.
Yeah. Also, the Ricardo Montalban thing in Wrath of Khan,
The only time Kirk could be upstaged.
Yeah. That is Khan's power. He's like, I can take my shirt off, and people want to see it.
Take that, Kirk.
Which we're only mentioning because you get the same energy about halfway through this episode.
A bit, yeah.
So let's jump in. We got some gender dynamics to talk about. Fun times. Fun times.
Woo!
The Enterprise is searching for a freighter that's been lost for about 7 years because, like any bureaucracy, the Federation takes forever to take care of what's probably an emergency.
Indeed. We get missing ships that have been gone for, like, over a century later. It's like, you guys are just really slow at this, aren't you?
So the ship was disabled by an asteroid, but several escape pods are missing, so they find the closest inhabitable planet, a planet called Angel 1. It's an Earth-like planet similar to mid-20th century Earth, ruled by 6 mistresses, with the leader being called the Elected One. It's a female-dominated planet, which makes Chancellor Troy kind of the, like, go-to contact.
Mm-hmm. So, hey, Troy, you get to do some stuff this episode. Hooray!
The Elected One is not pleased to hear from them because there's men on the ship. Oh my god. But they do allow a brief visit. They're a very insular society, apparently. They're also a pre-warp society, which raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, so I guess this is maybe one of those sort of planets where, like, the Klingons showed up and they're like, okay, you have had warp contact now with people beyond your world.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk to you now or something.
It's not particularly important, but it would be kind of interesting to know the hierarchy of, like, there's like completely uncontacted pre-warp worlds, but then there's these ones that, like, they're pre-warp, but they know that there are warp capable societies. They're not surprised when someone from space shows up. They just don't like it.
Yeah, it's like, we don't want to be, like, taken over or invaded or something like that, so go away.
So the away team comes down, and the Elected One and her second Ariel are very evasive about whether or not there are survivors. But according to Troy, they're just sort of worried about stuff for sort of, like, scattered reasons. Like, both of them are worried, but possibly for different reasons and things she can't really tie down.
Yeah, well, this is a planet that hasn't been interacted with for ages now, so maybe they're just like, has policy with the Federation people changed? Are we in trouble for some reason? I know they're asking about these guys here, but, maybe they're just using it as an excuse to, drop a bunch of troops on our planet.
So Beta is kind of nonplussed by all this. She sends the crew off to their sleepy chambers, like they do. Like, no, we dismiss you. Go to our suite, our executive suite, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, in the Enterprise, Wesley accidentally hits Picard with a holographic snowball, which raises some questions.
Yes. Which I guess, as far as the holodeck's concerned, kind of maybe, feeds into the, idea that, for some things on the holodeck that just replicating stuff, like stuff you can eat, say, like snow. But also we recently had an episode where there are people hanging out outside the holodeck for a time, so,
Picard gets hit by the snowball. A little bit of it gets on Worf. They both smell something, but Wesley doesn't. That's there's some kind of smell.
Yeah, Wesley's
very important smell.
Yeah, Wesley's like, a little stuffed up, it's fine.
So meanwhile, back on the planet, Meta calls the crew back, and she has decided she has no choice but to trust them because she's kind of out of options. There are in fact 4 survivors from the ship on the planet. They're all men, and they helped them when they first got there, but they later became discontented and started making demands and things, and now they're considered dangerous fugitives.
Well, that's a little awkward. What kind of demands were they asking for?
No idea. They don't like our society, man. Dangerous dissidents.
There's some problem that we're going to leave unsaid because you could just sort of assume it, I guess. I don't know.
Troy suggests that they may be able to find their hiding place with the ship's sensors, and then they can, take the survivors away with them. Problem solved.
Oh, that's convenient. All right, so you can just make our problem go away. Hooray!
On the ship, there's a mysterious illness. Wesley and his friends from the holodeck have come down with something. It's contained for now, but could become a problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, it is, I guess important to note that Beverly Crusher is like being, around all the sick people constantly. Yet she doesn't really sort of fall victim to it herself. She gets like, frazzled over time, but she's like, I'm going to power through this. So either she has some means to sort of protect herself from viruses she encounters while doing her job, or she just has so many hit points it doesn't matter.
Maybe the doctors have upped their containment protocol since it's been bad.
Yeah.
So Data postulates a plan to find the survivors from the ship because this planet has no platinum.
That's a little weird.
None at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange, but not native to the planet. But some of their technology uses platinum, so they might be able to find it if the survivors have any. So they're going to scan for platinum and track them all down.
Oh, that's useful. So hopefully this works.
Picard gets sick. Crusher demands that he rest, and since Data and Riker are off doing stuff, this puts Geordi in charge.
Hooray! Geordi. If you do well with this, you might get a promotion.
Yeah, to engineer. We need to see how you do in command so you can be the head of engineering.
And so you can command other engineers and no one else.
So back on the planet, they're going to have a meeting between Riker and Beta. He puts on the traditional male garb of the planet. So Riker doesn't have a shirt on.
Yes, so we get Riker's chest hair.
Yeah, lots of chest hair.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have looked better with the beard, personally. But
agreed. But maybe this is what inspired the beard, secretly.
It could. Like, you've got a lot of hair below your neck. I think we need some
above. Yes.
We have balanced this out for future shirtless scenes, because they this is one of the episodes where they're really leaning into the Riker is Kirk thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of drop that as we move on. Riker was very, very obviously originally supposed to be filling the Kirk I'm going to sleep with everyone on the planet role.
Yes. But we'll get to that a little bit later in this episode. Very a little bit later.
So since Riker is going to have this meeting, diplomatic meeting, definitely only diplomacy happening with his shirt all the way off.
Some personal diplomacy.
He sends Troy, Yar, and Data to the location where they found the platinum, And he stays to talk politics.
Just politics,
Just that, yeah. It's fine.
So does this planet have, like, arranged marriages and things like that?
Not that I've heard.
Because for political reasons, because Riker's going to be off flying in a spaceship, so he's not going to be pinned down, but he's available.
So the away team beam out to the middle of nowhere, where they find Ramsey and the lost survivors.
Oh, that's useful. I guess the only platinum on the planet was here.
We introduce a ticking clock at this point because everyone on the ship is sick, including Worf, most of the crew. Geordi's still holding the ship together, but there's a situation developing at the neutral zone that they need to get to when they're done here. So people can't be sick. They have a time limit here.
Wait a moment. Neutral zone. Romulans.
Yep, that's the plot.
Yes.
Yep, good synopsis.
Romulans. Just Romulans.
Yeah, that's the problem that they don't really use the Romulans for much in the first couple of seasons because they wanted the Ferengi to be a big thing.
Yes.
But every now and then they're just like, we need a ticking clock or an issue. Romulans.
Yeah. So they're not an active threat. They're just kind of over there, but they're scary.
So Ramsey does have his men sort of packing up and getting ready to go, but they're really not happy about this because they made a home on this planet, and most of them have children or have been married. Like They've lived here for 7 years.
Yeah, so they've kind of settled down roots.
So they don't really want to leave, but they know that they maybe have to.
Yeah, well, we also only get really Ramsey talking about all of this, and everyone else is just kind of following along with him. And maybe we should ask some of them, but wait, they're just extras.
Ramsey explains that initially they really liked it here because, it's a planet with a lot of women. It's great. Yeah, but then they saw how the men were treated. They're not allowed to vote. They don't get to have opinions. They're just sort of decorative playthings. Right?
Yeah. So that does kind of suck, Maybe that's a bad thing.
And they sort of started questioning stuff. And now they're dissidents.
So now we know a little bit more about what they actually did bad. They complained about, there not being equal rights.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We still don't know.
Yeah.
And we never will.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Uh-huh. So, there's nothing Starfleet can do to convince them or force them to leave if they don't want to. They're not in Starfleet. They're civilians.
Dang, civilians.
They can't order them. They can't kidnap them.
Maybe, given this episode kind of has some things going on, we'll have a better episode about, civilians being resistant to being transported away or something like that. Maybe even several.
So, given that nobody wants to leave, the away team has to beam away, deal with other stuff, report back. And then Ariel reveals herself from behind a rock. She is working with the dissidents.
Yes, Ariel is one of the council members who is most skeptical of dealing and interacting with the Federation folks. So apparently it wasn't because she was paranoid that they'd be invaded, but because she didn't want them running off with her husband. The
team interrupts Ben and Riker to report. They were having some fade to black times. She is very upset that the survivors won't leave because the crew promised to get rid of them. Yeah. So now she has no choice but to sentence them all to death.
Well, wait. Did we have a trial? What's going on?
Nope. Sentenced to death. Sorry. You promised to get rid of them. Now I have to. My God. The number of things I have to do around here.
Fiat death sentences for everyone.
On the ship, stuff's getting worse. So far, nobody's died, but more than a third of the ship is sick. The virus quickly mutates and spreads. Crusher brings Picard some tea, and then smells the same thing that he smelled. And it's like, oh my God, the virus is spread by smell. That's very unhelpful and is not helping me cure anything.
Yeah, it's okay. So I guess we could maybe change how our filters in the air stuff works or something, maybe to block it. But yeah, that's not actually going to cure anything. But hey, at least we get to see Picard's chest hair now.
Yeah, everyone's got their shirt off in this episode. This is basically what if all the men had to wear the same outfit that Troy does?
Yeah.
So basically, the practical upshot of all of this is the away team can't leave because they'll get infected. So they're stuck. Though Riker is kind of ready to leave, except they can't.
Yes.
Because there's nothing they can do about the political situation here, but now they're stuck on the planet. But he thinks that Ramsey and the others have been hiding for a while, so they'll probably be fine, right?
Yes.
They know how to avoid capture. Except Beta knew that Ariel was sneaking off and had her followed, and now they're all captured and are going to be executed tomorrow.
Oh, that's awkward. So apparently our showing up here kind of led them into a trap and all this crap. And maybe a different way to have taken the episode would have been to, maybe our elected one, Beata, is like, so all right, so you're not going to tell us, where they are, but we can still probably find them eventually. But how about this? We'll promise not to execute them if you tell us where they are, and then have things play out otherwise.
Riker disapproves of the execution. No other part of this situation, just that they're going to execute some people.
Well, I guess at least he's a anti-death penalty. So
yeah. Riker offers to give Ramsey and his people a chance to leave with the Enterprise instead of being executed, but Ramsey doesn't want to run from anything because everything's shitty on this planet. He doesn't want to leave. Riker wants to force them to leave, but they can't because the virus of the ship, it's under quarantine. They can't go. So they can't even force them to go up to the ship because they'd be making them sick, which seems like it might be better than letting them be executed, but what you gonna do?
Yeah, so I guess this is a situation where we're going to try to hold it off to the last moment, and hopefully Crusher cures the virus and we can rescue everyone, and ticking clocks pile up, and suddenly there's a war with the Romulans, and for some reason Geordi's able to shoot laser beams out of his eyes.
I'm surprised they didn't just attach that to his visor at some point. I guess they still got the next season of Picard. So Data gets sent back to the ship because he's not going to get sick, so he can take command if they need to. And Riker orders him to, no matter what's happening on the planet, to go deal with the Romulan situation before it's too late. This leaves Riker and the rest of the away team to work out what to do about this execution thing.
Yeah, and assuming that Data's taking the ship off, but Data's, a rules lawyer, so,
Yeah. Data's very literal. The next day, the away team is invited to witness the arbitration of Angel One's moral imperative. That's what they're calling this execution.
Yes.
They have a moral imperative. Makes it better.
I don't know. Equal rights versus murdering people. I think the equal rights wins out here.
Yeah. So they initially refuse because Riker's like, I don't want to watch this stupid puppet play execution thing. I don't know. But Data interrupts them. Riker goes, you haven't left. I told you to leave. And Data goes, nope, you told me to leave before it's too late. And I still have 47 minutes by my calculations.
Oh, that's convenient.
So Riker now has a plan. And he runs off to the execution with this new plan that he's got.
Riker's going to try to use a Picard speech. Wait.
Yep. They show off their disintegration doodah. They say it's swift and painless. It's great. Yeah,
and it's totally 20th century technology.
Yeah, definitely near our level of technology.
Yeah, just, closets, disintegrators at every home to take care of all our trash needs forever.
So Riker makes a speech about how Ramsey's not a revolutionary. He's just a symbol around which normal evolution of the place is happening. Normal evolution about men and women and how they're equal, and this would happen no matter what. It's fine. You can't stop evolution. It's great. This is just how society works.
So, you standing in front of this isn't going to really change anything, and murdering them is just going to be, murdering them. So maybe don't do that.
So he posits that executing them would make them martyrs, and you can't destroy martyrs once you've made them. Beta goes, I think I still want to disintegrate them, though.
Yeah, martyr versus an active threat to, it's actively preaching things. I don't know.
But they decide to stop right before they're about to hit the murder button, and then they adjourn to consider Riker's point.
All right, well, we're going to discuss this a little bit, and hopefully your ship doesn't run out of time before you need to go to the neutral zone, Riker.
Back in the ship, Crusher's completed an antivirus, allowing them to beam back whenever they need to. Riker has Data lock onto everyone, but to stand by, while Beta and the Council decide that they don't in fact want to execute everyone. They're just going to exile them to a undesirable part of the planet where they'll probably die, but at least won't have time to be revolutionaries.
So, like Antarctica or something.
It's going to be too hard for them to live, so we can slow evolution to a crawl because our society's great the way it is.
Yeah,
now,
we can't let anything change forever. Hooray!
The O18 goes back to the ship. They are immediately given an injection. Good job. Yep. And then they just leave to the neutral zone to take care of whatever's going on there.
Yeah, so, next episode is obviously going to be Romulans. Like, this one was supposed to be about a computer refit, right?
Yeah. They went to, like, Angel something. They went to a planet that was all women to get a computer refit in original series. That's when they had the feminine computer voice that they were all making fun of.
Yes, and Kirk's like, this is a little weird, but
women don't know how to work a computer, so they went here hoping to get their computer upgraded. And like, dang, the wrong planet full of women.
I guess we're gonna have to find some cyborgs out in deep space or something like that.
How many planets full of women are there? My God, come on, how's the guy supposed to keep track?
Dang it, 80s. Dang it.
All right, so this is definitely a episode about sexual equality, right? Not a misogynistic episode at all. It's all about sexual equality and how great it is.
Yeah, it's totally not just repainting which gender is which and just saying this is a thing and
See, here's a particular issue that gets run into a lot. When you do something like this, where you just swap stuff, you are taking no time to actually understand the thing that it is you are trying to comment on. You're just directly recreating the same circumstances that are happening. The practical upshot of this is that what you've done is create an incredibly essentialist argument. So there's two ways to think about sexism in our society, like the patriarchal domination of most Western society.
So I'm guessing the sociological construct versus the biological sort of imperative argument. Am I right here?
Yes. Either there is a social dynamic that's been created over generations by which our systems give one group power over another. Just to keep things simple, we're going to discuss it as a binary because that is how the patriarchal society views this. We have men and we have women. Men get to be in charge because that is the way that our society has decided things should work.
The few exceptions to this, are going to be, you are being declared a honorary man or woman as need be, and and thus those exceptions don't exist.
So we also have what's called gender essentialism, which is there is something completely natural and immutable about the way genders are. Men are one way, women are another way. This is a natural, immutable fact. It is an essential part of your being, hence essentialism. And that is why men are in charge. This is the arguments that you've kind of heard that get folded into society. Men are inherently more violent. Men are inherently better leaders. Women are better organizers. Women are caretakers. The roles in which the two sexes must be divvied up are defined by your natural abilities. Therefore, the way that society is structured is not a socially enforced structure. It is a natural structure that we have incorporated into our systems instead of the other way around.
And for some reason, we have to then socially reinforce because reasons.
Yeah, for some reason, a lot of people want to go against nature. Oh my God. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Apparently, there's just this angry cabal of leftists who want to go against nature.
I'm just shrugging here.
And this is even before we talk about, stuff that's outside of the gender binary, LGBT at all. Like the normal stuff that people say is going against nature. This is like some of the original going against nature stuff that people were talking about. Women cannot be in charge, except the queen. She's special. Never mind.
And, she's just kind of sitting on the throne and telling other people to be in charge, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
So what you've done here is reinforce the gender essentialist argument, because you've just switched things, but the way you have switched things is in an essentialist way. The women are not in charge because the society happened to evolve from a matriarchal power structure, and therefore over the centuries it was just codified into the way that their systems and governments and other reinforcements worked. The women are in charge because the women are bigger.
Yes, they're bigger. They're, the ones that engage in all the hunting because they're more violent or something like that. And all the guys are, small and weak and, I guess are caregivers or something.
Yeah, you only see, by my count, 2 native men in this show. Both of them are very small, not muscular, and are being like servants. Now,
yes,
being non-muscular would make sense, because in our society a lot of women are not particularly muscular because we societally reinforce that women should not be. We tell women that working out is bad, that being too muscular makes you unattractive, etc., etc. But both men, since we only see 2 men, both of the men are physically smaller. They are shorter than the women are. Like, this is a society in which the basic biological factors have been switched. The women are all larger and taller, as well as being more muscular, but also still very stereotypically feminine, which you're just not going to get away from in an 80s show. So that confuses things.
Yeah.
But it also means you have to make the men in the show even more aggressively feminine to counteract that you still have very feminine women.
Yes. The 80s power hair, is, a power sort of move, but it's still, very sort of feminine expression, especially this sort of time period.
So by directly switching all of the existing power structures, you're no longer making a commentary on gender inequality. You are making a commentary on essentialism. You are saying that, yes, there is always a natural hierarchy, and that is how things function. And yes, we should try to even things out for rights reasons, because that is good and proper, and the natural evolution that any society will eventually get to. This is the end of history argument.
Yeah. We've already observed how things are going to turn out, just, as a natural conclusion to all this stuff, and getting beyond these, petty physical differences is just how things work out 100%. And so, it's okay that your society has this now, just because we are already agreed that it's not going to later. You know. So we don't have to do anything.
We should probably I'll get into a very brief, discussion of this, because this is something that's going to come up a lot. I'm going to, the end of history is I'll be generous and call it a political theory.
Yes. It's annoying. That's what it is.
It interestingly didn't actually come out. Like, it was codified in a book called The End of History and the Last Man.
Yeah.
But that didn't come out until the early 90s.
Yeah.
92. So it actually came out after this episode. It was written by Francis Fukuyama, who's a political scientist, very well known, mostly because of this book.
Yes.
And the upshot to this, the basic, the super Cliff Notes version that will allow us to talk about this now, because it's something that's going to keep coming up through 90s Star Trek. But the basic idea is that Western liberal democracy, which we claim to have in the United States, is the evolutionary endpoint of society. This is what everything has been working toward, and now we've got it, and it is perfect, and it will never need to change.
Yes, and the fall of the Soviet Union is just a demonstration of this eventual victory, because they're totally going to be a liberal democracy forever now. Hooray!
Yeah. So the evolution argument that they're positing at the end of this episode, that this is just the natural way that a society will evolve, you will eventually get to gender equality no matter what you do, is this kind of end of history argument, saying there is in fact a end point that all societies will eventually hit. That is Western liberal democracy with equality for everyone. That is what is going to happen no matter what you do.
It is inevitable.
And basically trying to have any kind of dictatorial regime, any kind of inequality, is just fighting the inevitable, which in some ways is a nice sentiment, but it also just it's positing that the way things are now are perfect.
Yep.
And would never need to change.
So, I guess for, those who don't like the dictatorship, it's like, yeah, you maybe want to fight this, but, it's going to go away eventually, so you don't really have to worry about it. And for those who have gotten to the Western liberal democracy, there's no actual problems you have to fight against or improve in things because we've solved everything. And, any attempt to make things better is actually going to take us backwards, so please don't.
The other way that we are reinforcing the gender hierarchy with this episode is the way that the survivors, the new men, are said to be influencing society is through their existence as modern, stronger, taller, hotter men.
The rugged good looks of these guys is just too powerful.
Yeah, you in fact even sort of run into some of the older, racist arguments. These men are just too sexually charged, and they're stealing our women. Because you will notice that their allies in this are their wives. Mm-hmm. Not a single man in this entire society ever offers an opinion on this situation.
Yep.
You do not get a final scene where the man who is holding the frickin' I'm going to kill you button goes, no, I believe it's wrong to kill these men because I deserve equal rights too.
Yes. That would make sense to have happen at that particular moment, but no, it's the lady who's like, no, don't kill them. We the gender that just happens to be in charge here, has to go make a decision. And you hold there and, as we make decisions about the possible fate of your entire gender, and so you don't have any actual say here, and we're going to continue encouraging that sort of status quo.
Yeah, it's very strange to me. This episode is trying to portray itself as a commentary on inequality, but the oppressed group does not get to say anything through the entire episode.
Mm-hmm. Which is a little awkward, yeah.
The problem becomes that men from our more patriarchal, but, equal now in Star Trek. It's completely equal. There's no gender disparity. Troy's not wearing a low-cut top or dress on the bridge. Never mind.
She totally does that because she decided to, I guess.
Yes. And the fact that she would decide that that's how she wants to appear in a professional setting does not say anything about the current gender dynamics in the show, whether or not she chose to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the men are so manly and powerful that they are influencing the society at large by the mere fact of existing as manly, powerful men, not inspiring the masses as they claim. Because if you wanted to have that claim demonstrated to us in the show, we would have to see the male perspective of the people living on the planet, but we don't. We only get the dominant group's perspective, and then they eventually decide that maybe they shouldn't kill people. And it's a very strange, it's trying to do too many things. It's trying to show us gender equality by putting the women in charge, but then it's not actually exploring the subtextual gender equality narrative that it's trying to make with its sci-fi point, because it's not giving us any other perspective other than the dominant groups. And then eventually the dominant groups goes, well, we aren't going to kill anyone, but we're going to make it impossible for people to have equality. And like, well, good enough.
Well, we saved the lives of the people we came here to investigate. So that's, we could just now ignore this planet forever.
So, interestingly, we have Patrick Stewart to thank for this not being worse.
So,
everyone responded very badly to the original idea of the script, which was this was supposed to be a commentary on apartheid.
Wow. So,
where they used the gender role reversal to have apartheided men, which doesn't make any sense, even as a metaphor. And Patrick Stewart, as well as a lot of the other cast members, said, no, this episode is just too sexist. Stop it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of baffled. I'm all lost for words. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to do something like this, I don't think they handled it super well because it was still a 90s show. But Sliders did a We've Come to a Female-Dominated Society episode.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think was very interesting, because overall that episode's not amazing, it's fine. It's reframing the idea of it's completely switched the idea of gender equality by saying like they're start working with a campaign to become like the first man elected into government office.
Indeed.
In order to start the road towards gender equality, mirroring the way that it happened in our world. But one, that's not exactly how things happened, but they're just drawing parallels. But one of the things that I find that was very, very interesting is they had the men arguing for their own oppression in that episode, because they talked to several men. We got several different male perspectives, and a lot of the men that they talked to in the episode said they wouldn't be able to handle power positions because men are just inherently volatile and emotional and angry. And
so, yeah, this is the same sort of arguments we see. People argue that women shouldn't be in power, and
women will parrot the same arguments because of internalized misogyny. And it was fascinating to me because they were able to take it was an episode that at least on some level understood the thing it was commenting on, because it took sexist arguments and turned them around to demonstrate that these arguments are just a societal thing that could apply to literally anything.
Indeed.
My absolute favorite is one of the men said, women only go through their hormonal cycle once a month. I go through mine 5 times a day. My emotions are all over the place.
Yeah, that's an interesting sort of argument to sort of put together for that situation. Because, it's just, it's all right. So we got to, make anything that we're doing, that is bad for me. If I was in charge, it'd be worse. And this is what I've been taught. And here's the ridiculous reasoning behind it. And, this is maybe something, in our actual reality here to watch out for as far as kind of bullshit arguments go. That, maybe this is something that people are saying, not necessarily because there's any actual merit to the argument, but in order to discourage you from sort of questioning the status quo and, actively, supporting that status quo, even though it's hurting you.
Yeah, they're showing a very biological status quo in this episode, because the reason that the women are in charge is never given as like societal reasons. Like that argument that I just laid out from Sliders is the exact opposite of the sexist argument that women cannot hold power positions because their hormonal cycles would make them too emotionally volatile at certain times. Which that was a very good turnaround of that argument, and it demonstrates the stupidity of the argument.
Yes. But it's a nonsensical argument and is reliant on a lot of kind of bigoted, assumptions about how people operate.
Bigoted pseudoscience.
Yeah.
But this episode doesn't give us any societal reasons that people think the women should be in charge. The women should be in charge because the women are physically bigger and stronger than the men. And then when men come to the planet from a species where the men are physically bigger and stronger, that upsets the power dynamic of the society.
Oh, no. Yeah, I would have really liked in this episode if we had at least talked to at least 2 different guys that were not Ramses and his crew. Because there's Trent character, who's the only native guy that actually speaks, and the other random background fellow. Maybe have Trent be the one who's like, I don't actually care about, the fight for equality. I'm here doing a job and I'm happy doing my job. While the other guy is like, I don't want to talk about this. Please stop asking me. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, it should have been, it should have been the Roman episode.
Yeah.
It should have been the Roman episode where they show up, like, everyone acts like the society is great and normal and fine. Like, Trent could lay out some arguments on why he's happy doing what he's doing. He's well taken care of. He doesn't have any complaints. He doesn't need to have a voice in politics because he doesn't have any particular concerns because he's taken care of well.
Yeah, and he's effectively the secretary to the president. So
yeah. Then you show up to Ramsey's camp, where there's a lot of men from the planet there who have come to this place because they're creating a little enclave where they can be treated well, and they're getting ideas about equality, actual equality, not like weird gendered crap from these guys. Because the thing that they all say is, we have wives and families, and we as men deserve those wives and families.
It's like, okay.
But like, you could have them show up to the camp, and there's other men there who aren't from this crew, who have gotten inspired, who want to change things, who are saying they are being hunted down and treated as political dissidents for wanting the right to vote.
Yeah. So, give some actual stakes to the locals, as opposed to this being just the matter that is involved with these the outsiders here.
You could even have the old time, like they're talking about a very old timey, very sexist society in this one. So you could even have, like, tell us how do men function when they don't get partnered to a woman, when a man has to exist on his own in this society. It seems unlikely they can own property or function in society on any level. They mention that they don't have the right to vote and they're not supposed to hold opinions. So how does that work? How are some of the men oppressed? You start with Trent, who says he's fine, but in arguments that don't make sense to us, the modern male viewer, because his arguments are that he doesn't have any particular problems, so he doesn't need to engage with society. He's happy to be pretty and taken care of. Then you get to someone who the society has failed, but they don't have any recourse to take care of their problems when they're failed by the society.
Yeah, it's like, I was trying to do my own thing. I didn't need to get married because I wanted to go do this other thing. But if I got married, I'd just be, forced to stay at home and take care of the kids. And, well, I have dreams bigger than that. And so I decided not to get married. But unfortunately, when my brother died, or my sister died, the inheritance went to my second cousin as opposed to me, because they're a woman and I'm a guy, and I can't own the property if there's another person to inherit. And so they were like, "Oh, I'm just kicking me out," and so now I have nowhere to live. So that sucks.
Yeah, you wind up in a problem with this where you have two separate oppressor classes from various societies making an argument on which one is better.
So it just gets all muddled and convoluted. It doesn't really help anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the very fact that they are positing gender equality from a society and show that blatantly doesn't have it. They aren't even explaining how theirs functions, why they think people are equal, why having inequality is wrong. They never say that the inequality on the planet is wrong. In fact, they're pretty happy and fine with it until they're going to execute the people they're supposed to be there to get.
Yeah, Prime Directive says we can't interfere with your actual society here, so we're not going to address any of that whatsoever. We just want to deal with these people. Oh, no, we can't deal with these people unless we interact very slightly with your society. Crap.
But even in the background, even when they're alone, they're not saying this is wrong. They don't go, gee, this is how women were treated 300 years ago before we had the gender equality wars.
It just feels like there's so many missed opportunities here. And it's like, all right, even to have them while they're, on their own be like, yeah, I don't find this place very comfortable. And, maybe Tasha's like, well, you're a guy. And then it's like, well, this is also kind of a situation that was like kind of common on, Earth, back in the day. Maybe this, is just we've changed so much societally that it's just unsettling there. We could go have a lengthy conversation about this and sort of get more background on the Federation as well as more of what's going on with this actual planet. But instead, we got Picard and his captain's log going. This seems all sensible how this planet works.
So yeah, I think overall they actually didn't make much of a commentary on anything, which the only thing you can read from them not making a commentary on something is that they agree with a lot of it.
Yeah.
And the things that they're agreeing with in this episode, while I believe that they're unintentional, are just reinforcing the essentialist gender dynamics of our own normal patriarchal society.
And yeah, that's crap. So I'm guessing we're both kind of anti-gender essentialists then.
Yeah.
Hooray! Because, there's a lot that's kind of goes into that line of thinking that is just kind of questionable.
Well, like I said, to even talk about this in half an hour, I had to accept the gender essentialist argument of there being a binary of two, because it's the only way that I could dissect it in any reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, so assuming this thing that we disagree with.
Yes.
Man, this is one of those things where, it's one of those things that pops up from time to time where in order to make any headway on someone's core argument, you have to basically already buy into half the nonsense they're already kind of trying to sell in order to make headway to even get them to understand some of your own points. Yes. And by that point, it's like, okay, so then how do I undo the things I've already taken as assumptions when I'm talking to them without them sort of, undermining the things I've already been trying to sort of argue so far? And yeah, it's just such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it creates an issue because when something takes these arguments as so rote, so ingrained that they're just a natural part of everything and there's nothing that you can even say against them, you kind of have to accept a certain amount of the argument in order to deconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're going to accurately deconstruct it, you're going to need a book. Like, I've read books on this that try to do this, and it doesn't, they don't have enough time. There's very, very complicated academic language because you have to be able to explain something that our language is not currently equipped to talk about.
Indeed.
That's why academic language gets so confusing, because it's trying to talk about a concept that does not actually yet exist in our society. So we don't have the language to explain it because they're trying to explain something new and novel or dissect something that we take for granted in a novel way.
Mm-hmm. So, as a physicist, sometimes, it's like I can toss out words like, we're going to look at the quantum chromodynamic, interactions here, and with a focus on the SU3 group here. And that's, simple in comparison. Hooray, quarks. Yeah, I think we kind of covered most of what I was thinking about with regards to this episode, except maybe the quick thing about where did this virus come from?
Yeah,
that's the only explanation I could come up with, unless they picked it up on the last planet they were on, which was on Data Lore, so that's a planet where all the life had been eaten away.
Yeah, what they didn't tell you was Lore, as a final screw you, was able to interface with the computer for a split second when he was being transported, and then reprogrammed the holodeck to snow virus.
Yes. What a twist! Yeah.
They didn't even need it. They didn't even need the frickin' virus. It was insane.
Yeah, just
they didn't
sort of
need it for anything. It didn't introduce any it's like, we can't go back to the ship, but these people don't even want to go back to the ship.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we had the Romulan neutral zone plot. So if you want to have them not have the ship available, make use of that. Don't worry about a virus. But
yeah, Riker's final plan to forcibly beam everyone out before they were executed was not even necessary and wouldn't have made sense.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, there's just some unnecessary things that maybe if they'd taken out the virus plot, we would have been able to have a better focus on the main item of the episode.
Yeah, because the virus plot is so unnecessary. I'm glad that it let Geordi have some command time.
Yeah, I agree. Put Geordi in charge more often. Good times. Also, Klingon sneeze is kind of amusing.
Yes.
But, we could kind of toss that anywhere into almost any episode. It's like, are you feeling all right? Oh, no, just get a little allergy, Apparently I'm allergic to random quirky thing about the Enterprise this week. So, shall we move on, or is there anything else we need to sort of, hash out here?
No, I think we managed to get everything, which means that it's time for us to waste everyone's time with the galaxy's favorite game show!
Woo! Hey everybody, welcome back to the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show. I'm having a good time here. I hope you are too. And, we've got some weird gender binary stuff going on here today, but, we're going to, move some of that binary to the next episode, perhaps. Maybe that will help us out. Anyway, we got various contestants here, been racking up all sorts of prizes and points here, and we're going to be handing out some prizes to go with those points that they've gotten prizes for, apparently, already. Anyway, the first one to hand out is To Die is Logical prize, which goes to Ramsey because becoming a martyr seems to make total sense when the alternative is to get a free ride off planet. What does Ramsey win, Upwin?
Ramsey wins the kidnapping plan. They weren't doing what they said they were doing. Also, I just thought of a way better end to the episode where they do forcibly beam him out right as he's being disintegrated, and they go, oh no, you killed him, and it does create a martyr, and then you get to the ship and go like, well, you're doing more good being dead than you would have done if we left you there to die.
It's like, well, I can't complain because I did my thing that I wanted to kind of do, and yeah.
It's like, well, now you're a martyr, and look, there's political change happening.
Congrats, Ramsey. Yes. Ramsey will be baffled, but delighted. Our second prize today is the President Judge prize, which goes to Beata, the elected one, because apparently she could just declare someone must die for their crimes, I guess. So she's a dictator? I don't know. Gepwin, what does she win?
I guess they could win a judicial system, because it seems like the thing they don't have. But also, there must be very little crime on this planet if the main governing body has to decide sentencing.
So maybe there's some weird gender essentialism reason for that as well. That all the crime was done away with by putting the women in charge, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this, Gepwin. Help me. Let's just move on to the next prize. There we go. The third and final prize for this week is the holodeck malfunction prize, because space COVID or whatever the virus was, just comes out of the holodeck, I guess. So where else could it come from? Yeah. So what does the virus win, Gepwin? I've lost the game here.
They've all won masks. Like, why do they not have masks? What happened to those force field isolation field thingies they had in the animated series? Like, why can't you just put on a force fieldy mask thing? Why don't they even show you one of those in sickbay at all? You could just have a little blinky light that they put on and go like, okay, I have a whatever static repulsor antiviral mask. Now we can do the surgery.
Well, maybe that's how Crusher managed to avoid the virus so long. She has one, but no one else does. Secretly. Dun dun dun. I've completely lost my mind here, Gepwin. Feel free to take us out, all right?
Yes, gender essentialism has killed Isaac, so thank you for joining us on the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show!
Woo! Yeah, so, gender essentialism kind of sucks. Causes problems.
Yeah.
It's pain in the ass to have to talk about because it's so ingrained in our way of thinking.
I know, and we're definitely not going to have to talk about it again when this other guest star shows up in future. On the other episode that the dancer dude's in, no.
Yep. So,
no, this show's not going to make me talk about 90s LGBT representation. It wouldn't do that to me.
Yeah, it's going to be a smooth sailing from here on out.
Not my Star Trek. All right. Next, we get to that computer refit that you've been lampshading for a while.
Yes, an episode where the computer gets an upgrade, but also the ship gets stolen. But also we get to see a starbase.
Yeah, we get all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
The starbase is reused from the movies.
Mm-hmm. And,
it's the one. We get one.
Yes.
Which is nice. I actually kind of appreciate that they use the same starbase, because so often things are like, we have to make everything look unique and cool because it's the future. It's like, why? Once you put a thing in orbit, you're going to keep it there.
Yes.
This was hard to build.
Yeah, I really do like the design for these particular style of star bases, and I'd love to see them popping up in various, Star Trek more often, just like even in the background situation where it's like, this is effectively a giant city tower thing in space with a unique and cool design that looks like it's a Star Trek space station that isn't just random model you just turned upside down this week.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's literally a model they turned upside down from one of the movies. Yeah, I mean, I do kind of like it better than the one that they have, which ostensibly might be the same dang space station that they have in Strange New Worlds, that essentially says that the movie Silent Running is canonical in the Star Trek universe.
Well, Star Trek is canonical with some other random things, so, have I talked to you yet about the crossover in the comic books with X-Men?
No. Oh my god. Why?
Because Star Trek.
Disney doesn't own Paramount yet.
Well, this is like back in like the 90s,
Yeah. Of course, I think Fox doesn't own X-Men anymore because they just bought that too. So
yes.
Okay.
There was a lot of weird crossovers have happened in comic books. I believe Doctor Who is also canonical with the Marvel comics, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So that means that the Doctor can show up on the Enterprise and it'll still make sense.
Good. I hope they do that next. I'm actually kind of excited for the next Doctor, so hopefully there's some Star Trek crossover to get someone to subscribe to Paramount Plus. Okay, so next time we are doing computers that still use binary code for some reason, even though we should have moved past that long ago.
Maybe we're stuck using binary code because it's all using spin-orbit coupling or something.
I would suggest that this whole quantum computing thing never worked out.
Yeah. Or maybe they do have quantum computers, but the actual computer section where they make use of it requires a lot of overhead, and that's why the main computer is like 10 stories tall.
Yeah, I mean, the computer is too huge.
Yeah.
We're still on this microdization isn't going to take off thing that they were doing in the 80s. It's better than the we can't even fit a computer on a spaceship thing that they were doing in the 60s, but moving in the right direction.
Now I'm trying to look up an actual diagram of the Enterprise D computer diagram, but I'm just getting all these Enterprise computer networks, and like, no, I don't want modern things talking about this. All right, there's an actual side thing. Let's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like 10 or 11 decks. It looks like so.
As everyone can see with your handy visual aid.
Yes. My handy visual aid that only I can see. Oh, and yes, I also do have the Enterprise D schematics on my shelf, but that's the other room. So, it also take a few minutes to get it out and lay out all the various pages. It's really extensive. I recommend it.
All right, so now that we've proved what huge nerds we are, next week's episode, I'm only going to read this stupid thing once because it's not meant to be said out loud. Next week, we're getting to the weird episode with the weird computer aliens, 11001001.
Yes, if we want to put that to song, it's 11001001.
I don't know why you would, but yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You could do
that. Maybe next time I'll have thought to put that into like alphanumerics or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the number
I think it's
201.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like if you add up everything of something. Yes, 201. It's approximate of pi binary. Hex is C9, which equals letter I. Okay.
Sure.
And other things,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll spoil it for you. It's literally a file name.
Yep.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
Yep. Surprise!
Anyway, the entire point of the next episode is to flirt with some hot chick on the holodeck. That's literally the only takeaway, so.
Yeah, Minuet. But she does come back later, technically.
Yeah.
Spoilers for an episode that people don't remember.
Yep. I certainly don't. Anyway. Next week, the binary code episode. I don't want to read it again.
11001001. Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, the Enterprise faces off against space cyborgs. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.